In this video, you're going to see how to change a door into a new type of material and look with Noc film from 3M. And what's great about this type of film is you can take an old door like this with big scratches and dents and everything, and if you prep it correctly and apply Noc film, you can make it look brand new, so you don't have to replace the whole door. You simply just have to apply Noc film. Biggest thing with wrapping doors obviously is prep. Biggest thing with wrapping anything is prep. So take off the door handles. Obviously makes it much easier to wrap the door. It just makes it flat. So follow the right steps. Every door handle is a little different. Once you take the handle out, there's lots of wood chips in there, so make sure you blow them out. And for easy reinstall, to make sure everything goes back in place, make sure you put all the hardware in nice, neat order. With doors, they have lots of little bumps and stuff on it, so you take a scraper, scrape those down. You could even take sandpaper, because obviously this door is not going to be reused because it's already beat up in the first place. So you want to make the surface as smooth as possible. And then measuring is key. You don't want to use too much film because Noc film is expensive and it's worth it, but you want to make sure that you just have enough. You want to make sure that you have probably about 1 inch or about 3 centimeters at the top, 3 centimeters at the bottom, but you don't need any more than that because you're not stretching the film a lot, so you can be pretty precise with your measurements. Once you have the right measurements, you simply just take your tape measure and roll it out. And what's great about Noc film, it has these crisscross patterns on the back that have measurements. So they're about 1 centimeter each measurement, so you can get a good read for that, and then just follow the line across. So if you just take your snitty now and make sure you just hug that line about halfway through here, you can cut it nice and straight. And again, you don't need all this material on the side. You want to make it nice and snug. So again, Ken, who's the installer here, very good installer for a group called the Mob, Masters of Branding, he's rolling this up right now, and he's a 3M preferred installer, really knows what he's doing. So once you get the material cut here, he's walking it in and setting it down, and then he wants to clean the door. So very good prep here, and you want to make sure you wipe it down with a gentle cleaner and also just degreaser. Doors can have some oil built up, especially if they're old. You want to get all sides, especially around the hinges there, lots of oil in there sometimes. And then what he's applying now is a strip of Primer 94. It's an adhesive promoter from 3M, and you have to use this with Noc mainly because in this case wood is a very low surface energy, and if you're trying to apply this for long term, you definitely want to get inside around those edges there. And with Primer 94, always let it dry for at least 5 minutes before starting up. So now for the first side, you obviously want to wrap this door in 2 pieces. Best way to do it is you put a little stopper at the bottom, because now that the door handle is not locking the door into the frame, you want to make sure the door doesn't come with you as an install, is roll the panel up. And again, you can tell this is a metallicized film. So as with Noc film, it's very thick, and especially with this metallicized film, you don't want to pick it up very often. So then you just want to give yourself a little bit of excess film at the top. In this case, Ken is giving about 1/4 inch top and bottom. And again, this doesn't have to be exactly straight, but he's just kind of get there so you get full coverage top and bottom. You obviously want to make sure you have excess film, the right amount of excess film, to wrap around the sides of the door. Notice how he's left about 3 inches to the right and 3 inches to the left, about 9 centimeters on each side. Noc film is very easy to apply. It has the 3M patented control, tack, and comply features, so it doesn't stick right away, and plus has and you get the bubbles out nice and easy. So it's a very methodical left and right install, top to bottom. Once you get to the film on the surface, with the hinges, you want to start with those first. So you make a relief cut directly 90 degrees on top of the hinge, maybe slightly in so you get full coverage when it wraps around the side. So you make at the top and bottom relief cuts, and then you want to cut it to the base nice and clean. So always tuck it in clean before cutting, and then the knife at a 45-degree angle so it cuts it nice and snug to the edge there, top and bottom. And then because you're putting on a giant piece, you always want to be extra careful that those corners are cut nice and clean, because this metallicized film, it is fragile a little bit, so you want to pick it up nice and easy. With all the hinges cut out, you then want to wrap the material around the sides of the door. So first, before you do that, you cut the excess material at the top and bottom. Very good technique that Ken's showing here, though, is instead of cutting directly to the corner there, he cuts about, I would say about 1 inch or 1.5 inches short of the corner, about, let's say 3 centimeters, 4 centimeters. So never cut directly to the corner before you wrap the film around. The reason for that is you want to make sure that the film doesn't come up short on the corner. If you cut straight across, it might come up short. So leave that excess film to the top to the very end. Once you cut off the bottom and the top, then you want to form the film around. Again, Noc film is very thick, so getting a critical seal on the corner is extremely important. So notice how he's pulling with the free hand to create tension, gets around the corner with a very minimal squeegee, and then squeegees the flat area there. And again, notice how instead of cutting right to the top, he left that about inch connected at the top, And notice the angle of his blade is exactly at a 45-degree angle and is not touching the door. But he goes easily from top to bottom and then cuts the top. Because if he cut the top, the whole piece would have fallen with him as he went. Leave the top till last, and now he's cutting the corner at the top. Nice and clean. For the sides around the hinges, now that he's cut the hinges off, you want to slide the 3 pieces through the frame, or 4 pieces. So you got a piece on the top, and then you have the 2 big pieces in between the middle hinge, and then you have the small piece at the bottom. So just pull it through nice and clean. Make sure that corner is super tight. So don't go for a home run here. Get around the corner first, then squeegee the flat. Very important. And again, look at the angle of the knife there. 45 degrees, nice and clean cut, pulling away with the free hand to get nice tension. So again, the free hand pulls up while the cut goes down for a nice clean cut. Now for the second side of the door. So obviously he wrapped around the sides of the door and the back side, and now he wants to wrap the front. A good little tip is to use the backing paper now that was for the first piece. So instead of measuring this again, he simply can use that as a template to cut. Or you can just go off the printed texture on the back as a template. But again, sometimes using the backing paper is just a nice way to just kind of recreate your panel. Again, just little tips here. You don't have to do that. And again, the stopper, now again, you don't want that door because the door handle usually is stopping it from hitting the wall. Put a stopper there to kind of hold the door in place and also keep it from hitting the wall. And again, roll the panel up from the ground, release the backing paper, pull the material so you have excess top and bottom. Again, don't need too much there, and then simply squeegee. And look how easy it is to squeegee. It's a flat surface, especially when those door handles are out. Nice and clean, utilizing the comply and control tack features. Keep the backing paper on as long as possible because look how it keeps it away from the door. So again, just work in increments. Once the backing paper is gone, just tuck it in nice and clean to the bottom. Make sure you pull it away, and obviously, before starting, make sure you vacuum. You don't want any specks of dirt getting underneath the film. Cut it to the base there. And again, don't go all the way to the corner. Come up short, then cut across. Always come up short on those corners. Right here is a great shot of it. Instead of going right to the corner, angle 45 degrees away, come up short. Again, tighten the film around the corner. In this case now, you're obviously going to be overlapping the first piece that went on. And you're going to get a full overlap. So you're going to come across the corner here. But because the angle of the knife was 45 degrees, it's a flush overlap there, so you don't see it. If you were to cut it 90 degrees, you're going to see in the edge of the first piece. Once he gets it there, and again, look, 45 degrees away or into the edge that he's applied. And then here's a good tip for the hinges here. This is connected to the doors. Use a fingernail, not too hard, but hard enough to create a nice, good line to cut on. And then the knife should be cutting on the side of the hinge or the metal holder there. You're cutting on the side so it hugs there. So once the film tucks into the edge, once he releases it, it'll get a nice full coverage. So if you cut on the side of the door side, it's going to come up short. Treat that like an empty solid cut. So again, nice even cutting there. Once that's cut, you can go back to cutting the edge of the door 45 degrees and cut all the way down. And obviously a sharp blade is extremely important. Once the side is cut out, then go after the corners. Cut into the corners. So come from the right and then come from the left. That creates a nice wrinkle-free corner. Extremely important there. And then once all the excess film is, again, always just don't remove too quick. You want to make sure that you move nice and slow in case you didn't cut anything out precisely, and always pull away from the edge that you applied. Same thing on the edge that's on the front side of the door here that you can see when you open up the door. And again, really tight on the corner as you come around and then go full to the side. And again, great technique here. Don't cut away the top section, leave that connected, and then work all the way to the bottom. Again, you got a 45-degree angle there, so you're cutting, so the overlaps are nice and flush to each other. Extremely important. You don't want it too bulky of an overlap. Cut it there, and then always seal the deal. Once that's been applied, just make sure you go over the edge to make sure it's nice and tight. And what he's doing here is you can sand the edges of the overlap right there at the front to make sure it's nice and smooth. So you can sand the edges of Noc down a little bit for a nice smooth finish. Then with any of the door handle area, you want to cut that out nice and clean. Don't need full coverage in there because the hardware is going there. Again, good clean technique. Noc is nice and thick, so it's very easy to get a good clean cut there. Slide the hardware back in. Put it in nice and clean, make sure it goes in. Always double check it to make sure it works. And then always just do a 360-degree check on the sides just to make sure it's nice and complete. All the edges are nice and sealed. No need obviously to post heat. And here's the final result. So it went from a crappy old wood door to a fantastic metal finish really stands out. Good stuff. Good technique from Ken. And now for the wrap-up. As you can see, it's a very straightforward install, but you just definitely have to use the right steps, especially getting the material on those corners nice and tight. For install time, you should always factor in about 20 to 30 minutes, and that includes cleaning, primer 94ing, hardware removals, and install. Usually takes about 5 yards or 5 meters of film for this. And again, there's a huge variety of finishes for Dynoc film. So again, just the sky's the limit there. And one of the great benefits of Dynoc film is it's extremely durable. It really holds up over time, especially to a lot of abuse and stuff like that. So again, it keeps that door looking brand new for a long time. And I think one of the greatest things that you should consider with Dynoc film is not only can you transform this door to make it look brand new, but you don't have to replace the entire door. So when you think about it in terms of environmental, if your whole building is trying to do a makeover, instead of replacing the 150, 200 doors, they simply need to wrap them. And again, over the long term, I think that's great for the environment. So great technique from Ken. Thanks for the help on that. Thanks for watching. Justin Pate.